if you didn't hear, and it's on the front page of ESPN, so, I mean, it must be a big deal.
Really?
Masyn Winn's here.
Well, this was the date that you knew he was coming because this is that 45-day window where he could keep his rookie status.
Mm-hmm.
Also, everyone's hurt, so it also is a nice bonus.
So,
I mean, everybody's hurt.
I looked at the, they send the thing out about why Cardinals promote top prospect Masyn Winn. In related news, Lars Nootbaar to the IL with a lower abdominal contusion. And I was like, Jesus. I've seen a lot of injuries. A lot of things get described different ways. A lower abdominal contusion.
He got smoked.
It might be lower.
Yeah.
Lower abdominal.
Yeah. He got rocked.
It's been a tough year for kind of grisly injuries with the Cardinals. When you count in Kiz and
Newt.
And then,
damn.
Good Lord. I mean, you don't want to see the opportunity open up this way. I mean, the thing you're concerned with anybody coming up is, are you going to be able to give them playing time? Are you going to be able to get there? You have Gorman go on the IL yesterday. You unfortunately get in the game and lose two more guys. This season that, for whatever reasons, fell off the track, the pitching, fell off the tracks real early. Now it's starting to kind of resemble every day a lineup that looks like a rebuilding year. And that's a odd thing that's worked out here, but excited for Winn to be here.
When my kid can't name a guy that's suddenly on the field for the Cardinals, then they're dealing with issues, and there is a bit of a rebuild. With Masyn Winn, his numbers, last time I looked, he was leading the International League in runs scored. He's got power. He's hitting for average, steals bases, great defender. His arm is incredible. Talking to some of his younger teammates saying, as a pitcher, this guy's stuff was sick. Like, he could have made it as a pitcher. Who knows what his future holds? I'm excited to see him. It's time. And I also think, regardless of the talk of, do you hinder his development by taking him away from AAA?
Yeah.
He's going to play here a lot because they need guys.
Yep.
But also, I think there's a bonus for young guys getting some time to come up and get acquainted with what being a big leaguer is all about, who's where to be, that kind of stuff. I think that takes some of the pressure off and some of the uncertainty off for when it's for real, which will be next year. I still want to see more of Luken Baker because he hasn't looked good. I think it's in there, and I just want to see a 500-foot home run. But between Baker being here, Winn here, and watching the development of some of the other guys like Walker, I think now there's reason for folks to want to watch, when for a while it was just like, they're not doing anything. It's not really inspiring baseball. Now you get to see the kids and see what they can do and peek into the future.
When you look at how Wynn's spring went, which was fantastic, and he got off to a little bit of a slower start. Again, I'll tell you, that jump to AAA, you're seeing a lot. You're probably seeing more pros than you've ever seen in your life on an everyday basis when I mean pros, I mean major leaguers in a real way at AAA. But, I mean, what he's done over the last few months, I mean, he's coming up. What else is there left to prove? 17 stolen bases, 18 home runs, hitting 288 to the point you made. He scored just on the brink of 100 runs. And, you see what the arm looks like. You see the athleticism. I mean, in my opinion, this could be a guy that brings things to the shortstop position here you just haven't seen in years. I mean, I would say even going back to the Renteria era as far as upside of what he could be. So there's nothing left to gain from the season other than essentially playing it out at this point. So why not play it out and try to, number one, invest in your guys with the exposure and with the development they need up here, which is where you need for him to be ready to contribute next year. Because if he comes up and plays well, the good thing that could happen is that you answer your question. Do you got your shortstop next year? Well, yeah, you got it. Let's figure it out. Now,
I think they already know that they do.
Well, but the thing about it is going into this offseason, what I hope is that you do what you didn't do last year, where you've got these multitudes of people that are there that are all kind of playing the same positions. This is going to impact Tommy Edman. This is going to impact Brendan Donovan. This is going to impact Nolan Gorman. There's a number of different things that go into it, but I want more certainty, and what I hope is that he comes up and he provides that.
I think he will, and I think part of it is, like I said, getting him to understand what the lay of the land is, which takes some of the uncertainty out. I can't wait to see him play. And another thing, too, that I was excited for this to see this season, and then we didn't see it, was they have some team speed that they never utilize. They're near the bottom of the pack in stolen bases.
Yeah.
Tommy Edman can run. Tyler O'Neill can run. Masyn Winn has speed to burn. I want to see that be part of what the Cardinals bring to the table, because it kind of morphed into home run or nothing for the Cardinal offense. And I think when you're that kind of team, you can lock into something that's controllable.
So Tommy Edman's leading the team in stolen bases. He's only played shy of 100 games this year, 15. Here's the thing that caught, and Paul Goldschmidt's second with 10. So, I mean,
No,
yeah.
but he once was a 30 base,
Well, yeah,
30
absolutely.
stolen base guy.
Absolutely.
But you don't want him running.
But when you think about this team, Paul Goldschmidt's speed should be a bonus. It should be what I like to call Scott Rowland's speed, where it's like, oh, that's nice to get that out of nowhere, too. But part of what contributes to that is you can't steal bases if you're not on base to steal them. Right. You know, so I mean, you know, you look at on-base percentages, Tommy Edman's right down there at 310 this year. You know, I mean, and that's with a couple of surges that are in play. When you look at other guys that had some speed, I mean, you thought
Tyler O'Neill been hurt a lot.
Tyler O'Neill hasn't been out there. You know, Dylan Carlson
Muscles.
not on base. Jordan Walker not running it. I think that where his speed upside could be in time. So what I really hope that Mason Wynn does is, number one, he comes up here and he's hitting 8th or 9th, and he's getting the opportunity to run around a little bit in a space where it's not as much high stakes.
Agreed. I agree with 100%.
How'd Waino do last night? And let me ask you. And Jimmy's going to be like, Cam, how dare you not watch the game? Cam, how dare you not watch the game? No. I had everything set up. I was laying in my bed. The puppies were on me. Boo Boo was laying right there. Kate was chilling, had my wine, turned on Channel 2, and I go, oh, I don't get Channel 2 anymore. I have AT&T. I don't get Channel 2. This is going on for like 3 months now. What's up with that? Anybody else dealing with this? Every time I put it on Channel 2, it says something weird message, and it says, no, they didn't pay their bill or whatever. What is going on here?
It has something to do with the company Nexstar, who owns the Fox 2 affiliate here. So it's something with them.
Wow. So I had to go.
No, it's the same thing that Bally's has dealt with, okay? Bally's got killed because fans didn't get their Cardinals baseball. When Hulu said, no, we can't pay that price. When YouTube said, oh, we can't pay the price to carry Cardinal baseball. We're discount carriers, so we have to have a lower price, but we already have contracts in place. We can't give you special. Boom, they're not carrying Cardinals baseball. Same deal.
Yeah.
And that's part of the big change with what's going on. It's not just Bally's, right? You have you used to get subscriber fees to pay for, you know, and so anyone who got it, some of the money would kick to the company providing it, Channel 2 or the company that owns them. Now the contracts are gone. People are cutting the cord and getting their television from streaming services, and it's kind of changed the whole lay of the land.
Yeah.
But it's the same deal. Your deal with the company that owns Channel 2, they don't have a deal in place with AT&T anymore.
Well, so you missed, and when it comes to that, you missed a Adam Wainwright loss.
But you did pretty damn good, didn't you?
But it wasn't a loss where you say, boy, that's on you.
Yeah.
That loss was on the shoulders of of a former Cardinal hurler, one Jose Quintana,
Man.
who threw, yet again, a hell of a game.
Yeah,
He's been hurt for, over half of the year. He's got back. But he came in 0-4 yesterday, but it had all been hard luck losses. It wasn't a thing with him.
Sub-3 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, he's pitched well, and he's done what he's needed to do since he's been back out there now, albeit it's not in the situation that I think he thought he would be landing in New York. But in fairness to him, if he re-signed in St. Louis, who knows how much different it would have been either. But he pitched great, but his line and Waino's line aren't all that much different. I mean, they did what they needed to do.
So to me, I would like to say, Adam, I'm sorry, because I was saying the other day, it's not working. I mean, he's been shelled. The last outing against a team doesn't hit, eight runs in an inning, right? 1+ inning. Got to change it up. Just change. I wasn't saying he can't do it, but change it up. Bring him in the 3rd inning or try something a little different. Well, Adam's thing was, I'm not going to throw a bullpen because apparently once I throw my bullpen, that's when my good stuff is. And when it's time to actually pitch in a game, I don't have my best stuff. I'm going to eliminate the bullpen. And he did. And to his credit, he was really good. He was a different pitcher last night. And I say kudos to you, Adam Wainwright. Anyone who said you couldn't do what you did last night, you have proven wrong, sir. Now, what will he do with his last start? I don't know, but give him all the credit in the world because he was solid last night.
He ran into one with Pete Alonso.
And it wasn't a bad pitch.
Yeah.
So Wendell's line, 6 innings, which is deep. I mean, quality start, 3 earned runs, 4 hits. He did walk 3, but that was a kind of start that if you go 6 and give up 3 runs, you have a good shot to win that game. And it was a 180 from where Waino was. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. Am I wrong, Cole?
I thought you laid it on kind of thick, but I understand your general point.
Well, where?
You said that this is not a complete 180. That's still a 4.50 ERA, which again, it's not the 8-something that he's been pitching to. I thought it was fine.
I said it was a complete 180 from 8 runs in 1+ innings, where he couldn't get a guy out against a team that couldn't hit. Now the Mets aren't good, but they have some guys in their lineup who can do damage. Yes, I will stand by that. A quality start, 6 1/3 against the Mets team, compared to 8+ against a team that wouldn't hit. Or couldn't hit, that's a 180. When I say that, I'm not saying he's back. If you listen to what I said I don't know what his next start's going to be, but I give him all the credit in the world because he was a different pitcher than he was last time out.
I thought he was fine.
But isn't fine a 180 from where he was last time out?
A 180 is good.
Well, yesterday
So he went about half. He made it halfway. I thought he was fine, and I don't say that to be disparaging to him.
It's all good.
No, you're pot committed. So I'm just saying, I was too. I thought you got to change it. And they didn't, and they brought him out, and he did the same thing, and he was solid.
On both sides of
Give him
that,
credit.
though, in fairness to both guys that started yesterday, is that the breaks fell for Quintana and they didn't for Wainwright. You're not going to win a whole lot of games with the run support he got yesterday. So for the first time in a while, Adam Wainwright pitched a winnable game. But the thing that's got to happen is the guys have got to be able to support those outings when they happen, and it didn't happen yesterday.
No, 100%. And I think that his offense definitely made him look bad because he did pitch a game where you expect to be competitive in that game. And when you have 0 runs up until, the 6th or 7th inning, whatever it was, that's a bad spot to be in. So I would have liked to have seen him gotten help because he did pitch competitively. And also it was the fact that he had I think the first 3 innings he all went scoreless. I think it was the 4th inning when the scoring started. And that had been the problem, was just immediately giving up runs.
And it ruined a start from Taylor Mata and Jose Fermin.
Yes.
If nothing else, it ruined that.
I know.
God.
And the pitch, did you watch the game? Like the pitches where Alonso.
No, I didn't.
Alonso's a low ball hitter, but it wasn't a terrible pitch from Waino where Alonso got him, and the other RBI he gave up wasn't a terrible pitch. Look, am I saying this is vintage Waino? No. I'm saying, but for a guy that couldn't get anybody out, obviously it's a 180. It's a quality start, and I'm also not saying he's back. He's going to win every start out. I'm saying give this guy credit because he looked like a legitimate pitcher last night where he hasn't in a while.
Well, I certainly agree with that. He looked like a Major League Baseball pitcher. I'm not, again, I don't say that he was fine to be disparaging. I just personally find quality start to be a bit of an overrated term because...
But that's not what the debate's about. I'm not saying it's a quality. I'm saying compare it to his last start.
Then it was great compared
Then it was a 180. That's...
Jimmy did lay it on thick, not 180, but maybe 150, Mad Marine. Hayes, settle down a bit. Master James Hahn.
We're going to hear you say that again at some point.
Let me ask this. Which team's more disappointing this year, the Mets or the Cardinals?
Well, the Mets have the highest payroll in baseball history.
Well,
I would say they are.
And to the
here the Cardinals are, though.
And here's what I'll say about it is that, and I said it this winter, I've never been impressed by people that win World Series in December. You can write all the checks on earth you want to, but I mean, I never thought that Mets team, even coming into the season, was the best team in that division. You can spend all the money on earth, and I think that this is a cautionary tale about what the ask is going to be and what some of the things Mo is going out and committing to doing is that, sure, you can bring 3 pitchers in free agency, But you ain't got to look too far in this series to say that don't mean anything. The Mets brought in, 5 starters in free agency this year, and look at where they're at. They're in the same dumps. They're 2 games better than the Cardinals right now.
There's a lot of cautionary tales about big-ticket free agents that don't return anything for you. There's a laundry list of those guys. So I get what I'm with you. But when you talk about disappointment, this team, in my view, I would consider them early on to be a better team than the Mets in spite of the payroll. So, yes, based on what you're saying, maybe the Cardinals are more disappointing.
And I think I look at it 2 different ways. When I look at the NL Central still, even if the Cardinals weren't at the level that you would expect them to be, which I think kind of the general consensus was 91, 93 win type team. They'd have to play 2 seasons at this pace to get there right now. But the Mets were in a situation where there were other teams. The Phillies did things. The Braves did things. I always thought the Braves were the better team, and they most certainly are proving that. Is it more disappointing for the Mets, despite all the money, inclusive of all the money that they spent, to be in the place that they're in, or for the Cardinals to be in the place they're in the teams that they're surrounded by?
To me, personally, I think the Cardinals are a bigger disappointment. But if you're paying the bills for that,
sure. I mean, if you're Steve Cohen, you're as mad as anybody in sports. But I mean, I think that these are 2 different types of disappointment. But, man, I mean, it's tough to look at these teams and to look at some of the players that are in this series. I mean, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Nolan Arenado, Goldschmidt, all these guys. I mean, these are guys that should be playing. Baseball needs these guys to play into October and to have these guys on the big screen like that. So, I don't know, man. This is as disappointing of a series. This should have been a pivotal series in the season right now, the way that this is set up going into getting ready to go into September. And it means – let's see what Jose Fermin and Taylor Mater and Daniel Vogelbach have got for us instead.
I want to see a home run derby between Baker and Vogelbach.
Oh my gosh!
There's no game tonight. Instead, we're going to have a little home run derby between these 2. I think for that.
I think that could get Fox 2 back on the air.
Well, I hope so.
I'd watch.
My God!
Can we hear from Waino? I'm curious to hear how he explained the quality start.
Quality start.
All right, making progress, blah, blah, blah. I was going to play the one about him not throwing a bullpen. You want to hear that too?
Sure.
Yeah. I felt pretty sharp, especially the first maybe 3 or 4 innings of today. I felt really sharp. So that's going to be hopefully a building process for me. I hope to feel, good for all the way 9 by the middle of September. How about that? But right now, that's I wanted to feel like I did in my bullpen sessions today for the game.
I mean,
cool.
I thought to myself, of course you're going to feel good in a bullpen. There's no batters in there.
Yeah.
And he was right. I mean, for last night, he was right.
And we're going to find out if he's going to keep doing this moving forward.
You never can tell those things, man. You never know. I pitched a decent game today. It's a good one to build off of. Could be better. I would love to have not given up that home run. But and I would love to not walk 2 guys in the 5th inning. But, I can't do anything about that now. So I can't harbor on that, right? So now I just try to get better going forward.
That's positive.
It's positive when you hear him saying, see, that was the thing with the last one. Last outing, he said, yeah, I was non-competitive. I had nothing. Oh, okay, why? How are you going to build off that? Last night, he was solid, and he figured out something that he was fresher because he didn't throw a bullpen. And now when he says, I can build off that, I go, okay, I get that. Last time it seemed hopeless. That's why
it did seem hopeless last time. 100%.
That's why, to me, it was quite a revelation that he was solid last night.
Why pitch to Alonso there? I realize this is Monday morning QB, but Vogelbach doesn't scare me nearly as much as Stubby's big, strong guy, the bastard James Hahn. I didn't see the game.
I think because Waino was rolling, and you got to face guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, why aren't you challenging guys? Pitch to everybody at this point. It's not like you're strategically moving around, the game. Get out there and do it.
And Vogelbach has hurt the Cardinals before.
He can hit.
We have one more clip I want to play. Adam Wainwright on if retirement has been a distraction.
When you take your eyes off the present and you're looking, that light at the end of the tunnel, and you can see the end coming, and then all you do is see the end, and everybody asks you about the end all the time, you lose track of where you are. And so I just had to refocus and lose all that other distraction and just really harness and hone in on where I'm at right now.
He said that after his last start, and it was kind of like, well, I mean, you're a veteran guy. You've been around. You knew this was coming for a while.
Yeah.
How, now you're going to refocus. Like, whatever it was, he found it. I give him credit. Like, you got to change something, is what I was saying. You got to, and he did it.
Change.
And he did it.
Yep.
So I'm just giving a guy credit and saying I was wrong about it.
I want to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you to project into the future, and I'm not going to hold you to this. There's going to be a lot of time in between now and then. You can readjust your opinion. At the beginning of next season, what do you think your expectations are going to be for Tyler O'Neill?
Depends where he is, right?
Is he playing for the St. Louis Cardinals in this scenario?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's not going to be a lot different than coming into this year for me. I mean, for me at this point with Tyler O'Neill, the expectation is what can you do when you're there?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of the hard part for me. Now, to flip that question some, and Kat, I definitely take time to answer that as well. My expectation would be more or less what does he mean to the Cardinals? That's a question that I would be asking John Mozeliak about what does Tyler O'Neill and how does he play into the picture of the team? Is Tyler O'Neill somebody you're planning around? Because if you're planning around what he's going to bring on an everyday basis, man, that's hard. And I feel like it's the third straight year where that's been a hope for the upside type of thing.
So for me, my expectation, if he's a Cardinal, would be he's going to be hurt sometimes. And it'd be up to him to change that thought process. Because as a professional, a major leaguer anyway, he's been hurt a lot. I know what I would expect when he's on the field. That would be locking down left field. I don't want to see him in center. I think he is Gold Glove caliber. He's won one there when he's in left, and he makes them better when he's in left. I think he stabilizes things. As a hitter, I think you know what you're going to get, some raw power, maybe some ups and downs, but overall good numbers if he's on the field. But my expectations now, if I was being honest, would be a guy who's not going to be there for a lot of the games. Until he proves differently.
With that in mind, let me ask you, because when I sit here and I think about the team as it's constructed right now, and I think about the guys that are coming back next year that I just think will be a part of it, is there anybody who's kind of stuck in that middle infield grind that, we talk about you got to make room for Mason Wynn. There's 3 other guys in there. Is there anybody that they should be looking at trying to dedicate to the outfield for next year? Saying you go into the winter and you figure out how to work a corner outfield position.
That's Walker.
Well, but no, I'm talking about one of the guys that are part of that infield glut, though.
So
I'm talking about
and
Gorman.
Donovan.
I'm talking about Gorman. I'm talking about Edman. I'm talking about Donovan. Is there somebody that you reallocate out of that sum so that you can say, I need you to focus more on being an outfielder than getting ready up the middle?
So I don't know who's going to be traded, because if they're going to get 3 starters, and hopefully 2 of them very good, they're going to sign 1 in free agent. The other's coming by trade, which means a piece that you like is going to have to go. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Tommy Edman is your center fielder next year, right? I mean,
I think anything's on the table because the guy that you've got in center field, I'll put it this way.
Could be Nootbaar.
I expect Nootbaar and Walker to be in the outfield on opening day.
If they're all here, we don't know who's going. But I like, if Nootbaar goes, Tommy Edman's your center fielder. If Tommy Edman is part of a package, it's Nootbaar. I think you got to factor that in, so it's hard to know. I know this, and I think O'Neill is on the trade block too. I don't know what his value is, but so it's hard to lay out who the outfielders are. The Cardinals know better who they are planning to trade or who they're hoping to trade. I want Jordan Walker every day working in the. He's not a good outfielder right now, but he's a good athlete, and I know he could get
He's tied for assists for the month.
He's got great arms.
Oh, man, he's got the tools.
And no one questions his arm. And there's times guys won't run on his arm. The problem is his routes are not good, but they will get good. I believe that he can do anything he wants to do. And right now, that position is right field.
Here's what you can't teach. You can't teach a guy to have a hose. Either you got that or you don't.
Oh,
but what you can do, but what you can do is, well, there's some surgery for what you're talking about.
I don't know.
But what you can do is teach a guy about how to go about using the tools that he's got better. You can do that. You can do that, and it's up to him to dedicate himself to doing that. The interesting thing about the Cardinals, I think you've got 6 guys that are kind of just locked into that outfield mix today, right now, if you were looking and saying you're going to roll all of them over. And by no means, I agree. I think that there's no way that all those guys roll back onto the roster by opening day next year. But I feel like Jordan Walker still is the guy where you'd have to be giving up something that's life-changing in order for them
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I have Nootbaar right underneath that because they've already proven the value that they feel about Nootbaar brings and what he can do after that. I think you slide quite a bit after that, though, as far as outfield security. I think that most likely Tyler O'Neill or Burleson is next. I don't know. I mean,
In terms of value?
as far as like if you're talking about trade market value right now, if you're the Cardinals, like I think that those guys are next, and then you've got to step down again to a Dylan Carlson that's in the space after that. And then, I mean, after you've got, so I guess it's only 5 guys that really I'm thinking about that really factor into that.
I think Carlson also this year, I'm not trying to make an excuse for him. I like him. I happen to like all those guys. But it wasn't just what he's dealing with now. He's had a bunch of little injuries that have kind of impacted his effectiveness. I don't know what the value is for those guys, but I think they're all sort of in the same little cluster. Maybe Tyler, because he's actually done it at the big league level. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in Burleson, too. I know you can say, wow, look what he's hitting. He hits the ball hard. Certainly not fleet of foot in the outfield, but I think he'd be fine. But it's hard to assess because some of those guys are moving. There's no question about it.
How old is that Luke and Baker?
Look, he's 26.
26, okay.
And he's a guy, too, you figure someone wants a guy like that, and there's no room at the inn for him here for him to get regular work.
Was he smashing 500-footers down the minors? Mm-hmm. Big time.
And hitting for average. I mean, we're talking 330 batting average. I mean, he was hitting everything.
When you look at and the thing about it is that for the past few years, there's always been somebody kind of pushing. So you had Jordan Walker that was pushing. You had Burleson that was pushing up. You know, last year you had you had a couple of other guys that were, Yepes is in the mix with that too. There's not really a guy in the minors right now that you say he's going to show up to camp and might make that be a difference. A lot of the next level outfielders are a couple of years away. You have Victor Scott, you have Chase Davis, who I think they hope moves quick, who was their first round pick this year. A lot of those guys are further away. So you know what you've got. And I think that such dedication on the pitching staff is going to really keep them away unless you swing it as part of a really big deal, a combination package alongside a pitcher. The outfield's going to have to work itself out with what you got here. And guys are going to have to produce because I just don't see them going out and adding a big-name outfielder or a guy that's going to be an impact one that's going to be in the mix like that.
I think they're fine with the outfield regardless of who's left after they make whatever trades they make. I don't think that's an area. The area that would concern me is bullpen.
Yep.
In addition to the starting rotation. I think you fix up those two, and I'm not saying it's like throwing a Band-Aid on there. It's not. It's kind of a renovation. If you can do that, then I think they can be good next year.
Maddie, who's the number one pitcher that you see right now that could be available that you would want the Cardinals to get? That makes sense. Not the best, just to make sense.
If you're
with
talking
the money and everything.
Yeah, if you're talking about just going out and spending money, because they've got, again, to the point, they've got 2 different things they got to do. They got to buy one and they got to acquire one.
Yes.
If there's a guy out there that I looked at and I said, I would like that. That intrigues me from the top market guys. It'd be Blake Snell.
Okay.
I like that Blake Snell can miss bats. I like that he's a lefty. I think that there's a lot that comes into that. Now, he's not a number 1. There's only one number 1 that's on the market, and it's Shohei Ohtani. That's not happening. But I like Blake Snell. I think he's at the point where you're still buying upside years, so you're not necessarily taking on the big risk of a guy who's 33, and you're like, you're going to get 1, maybe 2 good years, and then you got to roll the dice. I think he's 28, Cole. 28, 27, 28, something like that. So, I mean, he's in that range where I still think you can get upside years. I like Blake Snell the most of the guys in an open market. Now, the trade market gets a little bit murkier because you got to account for a lot of different people that could be available and may not be available there.
A quality
Snell.
How old is he?
30.
Is he 30 flat? No, Jose Urias is who I'm thinking about, who's 27, 28.
Yeah.
I like Snell because he's mid-prime. Urias would be the one.
How much?
Well, I mean,
How
a
much
good
we
pitcher is
talking?
going to probably be 25, 27 a year. I mean, that just
For how long?
is what it is.
Julio, I take it.
For Julio, yeah, I think Julio's expensive.
Yeah. I think Julio's a big-time priority because of the age, because he's about 3 years behind everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, so when you look at the guys that are coming out, I mean, Aaron Nola is going to be the most expensive one. I think he's going to get over 30 a year. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be Bitcoin this year. But when you look at the guys that are out there, Snell's going into his age 31 season, as is Nola. Clayton Kershaw's not in play. You've got Urias, who's 27. I think that's a great upside if you look at that. Marcus Stroman's out there. Eduardo Rodriguez is a guy that could opt out. He's got 3 years left on his deal. Mike Clevinger. So there's a lot of guys that are already in that low 30s range.
I like Logan Gilbert. I don't know what his availability is, but I like him.
Well, that would be a type of trade chip, though, that you could get. And the Cardinals and the Mariners have done business together before, so you probably have a feeling for what that looks like. But in my mind, I think that the Cardinals have to shoot at one of those top-of-the-market guys between that 2 to 5 to 6 range because, again, it's not the number one guy. You got to get competitive there, and you got to get something there. You got to trade for somebody who's got some years that matches what you've got, and then they're going to have to go further down the list and add in a guy who's more of like just a veteran arm, a stabilizer type guy.
So we think 2 middle to front of the rotation starters and a guy that will provide depth and insurance.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll get. And if they do that, and it's really they get one frontline starter, another guy who's a 2A, 3, they should be good.
Yeah.
But you never have enough starting pitching. That's why it was disconcerting Liberatore's last start for me, because I thought he had found something, and clearly still a work in progress, aren't we all? I'm not sold on Dak yet, although we've seen Dak win 16 games, and the knock on him is he's walking too many guys. He seems to have corrected that to a certain extent. And then the other guy is a guy I said at the beginning of the season that I was high on, Zach Thompson, only back then it was a bullpen piece. Now suddenly he's thrust into the mix as a potential starter candidate for next season.
What was worse this year, the bullpen or starting pitching? Now, they lead the league in blown saves.
I might say bullpen.
I'm going to say the starting pitching.
I'm going to say tie for first.
All right, I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're eating steak either way. It's just how you want to cook it.
And part of it, too, is if your if your starting rotation isn't good, your bullpen's going to get beat down, too.
Beat up, baby.
So they're sort of intertwined.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go with the rotation, and here's why. Because, again, it just goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the year. You can't have 9 starters. They weren't sure about it. There was no certainty that you're going to be in a place with that. And I think that what's been very clear of who they went out and added, and when you look at what they don't have, is that they can't miss bats. And in today's day and age, you got to be able to miss bats.
Guys miss some bats, baby.
I don't think that the starting rotation was ever equipped for what baseball needs to be in 2023 with the guys that they have. You can have some of those guys, but you can't have a whole rotation of pitch to contact and make it work guys. That's just not the game anymore.
And think about what happened. I mean, so Miles Michaelis at the World Baseball Classic, don't have your starters do that anymore.
Oh, God.
Don't have your starters go, because he got off to an awful start, right?
Yeah.
Waino's hurt. Matt's, for whatever reason, was awful and then found it late. Like, everything that could go wrong with that starting rotation did. But the World Baseball Classic isn't necessarily great for your starting rotation.
And even like Nootbaar coming back was probably worn out, you know? He's getting hurt all the time. There's probably some sort of correlation there. Yeah, it was all fun and cool to watch.
Yeah, he got hurt early.
He's banged up. They're all banged up. Quality start should be redefined as 7 innings and 2 earned runs. The current quality start definition is a total joke. Microbiologist Jack, what do you guys think?
I think it goes back to what I said. You've got the Cardinal high quality start, which is a sliding scale on how your guys are performing that year. And then 7 and 2 is an excellent start.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, that's excellent. A quality start in my mind is, I don't know. I mean, what's the average? What's the average amount of innings that a starting pitcher is pitching these days? 5 2/3, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
So first of all, you go 6. That's good. I do think quality start was probably a stat invented by agents to show that their guy is at least there, available, and gives you a chance to win.
And
so when they say, I called it quality start because that's what it's called. I don't say quality start means a great start. I never said that. I'm just saying, for a guy who couldn't get into, barely got into the second inning, for him to give his team a chance to win with a quality start is a 180 by definition. That's where this argument came from. I never said, to be honest, it's a straw man argument to say quality starts aren't that good. I never said they were, but they are when you compare them to 8 runs in 1+ innings.
The Mad Marine chimes in. Would Mo need to win the World Series to save his name with the fans, or just go to the World Series? He went to the Championship Series in 2019, and people thought even less of him. Thought we made it too far, some may argue.
I don't really understand the question.
So basically, what does Mo need to do to redeem his name amongst the fan base?
You get to the World Series, it's a win.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I don't care what anyone says.
100%.
You get to the World Series, it's a great season.
I think some of that's a sliding scale, too. If we're sitting here next year and the Cardinals are, fast forward a little bit, and they're in the NLCS compared to where you're at right now, for me, that's a W.
Agreed. But I'm saying, would that, even with the haters, redeem Mo a little bit? If you get to the World Series, means a lot of those decisions that were made worked out.
Yeah.
And I think it would help.
I think some
people will never give him.
Yeah, I think some of that depends
some
on
people that won't.
Whose standard are you trying to meet and whose standard matters.
Oh, I know some of these Texans don't. It's over for Mo.
Here's where you're
damn what he does.
Here's where you're going to find out. The thing I'm most interested in is that I get the emails with the season tickets are on sale and see where that's at. What's that going to be looking like? What's the reinvestment from the fan base going to be looking like going into next year? Because that's going to tell you everything you need to know.
How was the crowd last night?
I couldn't tell.
Couldn't tell on TV. Maybe they were told hide it. It seemed like it was legitimate. I'm curious to see what the Cardinals actually do. Here's why. They're smart guys. They know what they're doing. I know Mo is motivated because this falls on him. This is his team.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I don't think he would duck that. A lot of things went the wrong direction for him. But he said they're getting 3 starters and that they're going to build for next year. Now, he also said last year we're gonna up the payroll, and they barely upped it, right?
Yeah.
So now he's got to live up. He knows what the chirps were last time. Now he's already said they're getting 3 starters and that they're going to be good. They're going to be motivated to make that happen, and I'm going to see how it all shakes out. Because if they get one good starter and then they sign a couple of guys who are just journeymen, people are going to be like, that's not what you said.
Mo's got 2 issues, and to the point about that, he's got a results issue, but he's got a credibility issue. The results issue is what's happened on the field now. The credibility issue stems to the things that went into what's happened on the field now. So credibility is a harder thing to make. Results can happen. The boys make the results happen. They go out and play well and they win games. Results are happening there. Management plays a part in that, but at the end of the day, the guys that play, they got to make that happen. Credibility is how you approach supporting that happening, though.
I get that, but everyone thought the Cardinals were going to win the Central. Most people did.
Yeah.
And so what transpired this year was a disaster. Now, you can point right back to the fact that they didn't invest enough in the rotation. You wouldn't be wrong, because they didn't have enough to get through, and they got off to an awful start. But if everyone thinks you're going to be good and you're not, I don't think you lose credibility saying, hey, we're going to be good.
I've got a prediction, and timestamp it here, is that the Cardinals will spend money on the rotation. They have no choice, and they've been probably, in my opinion, have been as intentional about making that clear as I can remember them ever being about any roster change or anything that they intend to do, especially 2 months in advance. You barely can get them to talk about what they're going to do a week in advance, let alone what they're going into the offseason and doing. But when you start to talk about the standards and the expectation and, again, the credibility piece with the fan base, it's going to have to be names that people love and want to see. Otherwise, they're not going to care.
And I think
for Mo to go. Oh, hey, Cole. Oh, go ahead.
And I think, too, if you're Mo, I think we all feel the same. And I'll say this again. You did a good job bringing Goldschmidt here and Nolan Arenado here. And that's going to get wasted unless you guys make that starting rotation good now.
Cole.
Yo.
Why did Mo not trade Goldie to make room for Luke and Baker? Goldie's value is only going to go down. The Mad Hazer.
Okay, you had me until you started talking about making room for Luke and Baker.
I didn't say it.
I don't know if Luke and Baker is the long-term solution. He's a 26-year-old still playing AAA baseball. I think that's pretty telling of what kind of a major leaguer he is. But yeah, I'm on the trade Goldie train, and I'm I'm willing to at least feel it out with the offseason because the organization clearly views 2024 as an all-in season. Regardless of what happened this year, they're still viewing 2024 as a season that they expect to be really competitive. So I'm willing to be impressed by what they do in the offseason pitching-wise, as we've discussed, and we've had it out numerous times over how they need to address the starting pitching. And if they do that, then I'm willing to be encouraged by that. But if they go kind of half in, half out, and they get one pitcher, but they need more, or they don't address the bullpen, if they only go like half in, then I'm going to say, hold on. We just saw what happened with the pitching staff this year. You barely changed. You changed it a little bit, but that's not going to be enough to be competitive. Then I'm going to say, okay, you're not going to be a competitive baseball team like you think you're going to be. And then what are you going to do with Paul Goldschmidt on one year left on his contract? So the whole trading Paul Goldschmidt thing, I think it made a lot of sense at the deadline. Now I'm willing to see what happens with the pitching staff because that's going to temper my expectations as far as how competitive the baseball team is going to be in 2024.
Jimmy?
Let me tell you who Luken Baker is. Luken Baker is a guy that if you trade him and he hits 30 homers, will be the guy that folks on the internet will make memes about to show they're smarter than John Mozeliak. Luken Baker is also the guy that if you trade Goldie, they keep and hits 230, he will be a guy they make memes about to show that the people on the internet are smarter than John Mozeliak. The truth is there's a lot of these guys that go elsewhere that people weren't screaming about that we need to hold on to this guy. They wait till they go somewhere else and then flourish, and then you scream about it, okay? The truth is what Goldie does for this team and can do next year and the year after, okay, as a DH, whatever, he does more than any other first baseman you're going to get in that position. You have that, okay? You have that at third base. Build off that. Spend the money, fix the rotation.
I don't like to throw bombs, but this team feels like a bunch of losers.
Come on, Charlie.
How dare he?
Oh, God.
Can you believe that he just said that?
Luken Baker could be.
He called in on his off day.
He did.
Luken Baker could be C.J. Cron, or he could be Brett Wallace. You don't know. But what I'm not doing is staking the future of a team that you want to see compete to a 26-year-old prospect. I'm just not, and I'm not trading. I'm not trading away Paul Goldschmidt to hitch my wagon to that. I'm not trading away Paul Goldschmidt to say let's move Jordan Walker down there and have him learn another new position and expect for him to be good there. Listen. Paul Goldschmidt isn't the reason for the problems for this team. And they traded away a lot of guys and I think got a lot back in volume where they needed to have it. You need Paul Goldschmidt if you're going to try to compete next year because there's still how many first basemen in baseball are better than him? I mean, it's not going to be a two handfuls worth for sure.
He's not. He's a click off of what he was last year. There's no question. But what we see from him night in and night out, defense. First to third. Now, last night on that play where O'Neill ran through, Goldie, I didn't see the replay, but that's a play where you're supposed to bust it and try to beat the tag there in that situation. But Goldie's a great base runner, first to third. First basemen don't do that. He goes to first to third every time. He is Gold Glove at first base, whether he wins a Gold Glove or not. We saw Alonso, clank a throw to first. We don't see that from Goldschmidt. We see Goldschmidt tracking down foul balls over his shoulder and making catches. First basemen generally aren't even going to offer at those things. I'm just saying, night in and night out, if Goldschmidt isn't there and we have someone else that we put in there because we got other pieces from a Goldschmidt trade, night in and night out, we're going to say, I miss Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I'll take a if you want to call it a diminished Paul Goldschmidt over a lot of the other things that you're going to go out there and get because you know what you're going to get from him.
And when you put diminished, I mean, put an asterisk on it.
It's an asterisk diminished.
Right? He could bounce back with 30 homers and, 110 RBIs next year. We don't know.
But then what do you do with him? Because his contract's going to be expiring and he's going to be 37 years old at the end of next year. Like, that to me sounds like like we talked about, you got to use him now. Because he's going to age out of this whole process, and that's why I'm kind of putting everything. It's kind of weird because, how does the pitching staff affect Paul Goldschmidt? How does Paul Goldschmidt affect the pitching staff? It's just basically the overall competitive. If I could speak,
you could talk.
The overall competitiveness. There we go. That's what I was trying to say of the team. I am concerned that two of the best trades possibly in your organization's history with Arizona and with Colorado may be all for naught because you kind of wasted their time a little bit.
I've been saying that for months. That's why they got to do it, right? You want to chirp them for not getting enough pitching? That's fair. Now they're saying they're going to. They realize it because that legacy of having two generational players at the corners could go away.
Doesn't Goldie have a no trade? People were asking that too. He probably, they might have tried to trade him. I don't know.
He does have a no trade. And here's the other thing too. This is maybe me being pie in the sky. I think he likes it here, and they do well next year. He'll want to be back, and he'll realize he's probably going to have a role that is going to be lessened going forward. But you still want him. DH, first base, I don't know. But let's see how he does next year because now's the time to capitalize on the fact that you got these guys at the corners.
We want to be entertained and win. It's an entertainment operation. Do you think Tampa is fun to watch? They win, but don't entertain. Of course, I would take the winning over the entertainment.
Well,
winning is entertainment.
Winning is entertainment. What are you talking about? The Rays aren't entertainment. You think Rays fans don't enjoy how good they are this season?
Well, there are no Rays fans, but if there were fans, they would find it entertaining.
Dick Vitale.
It was empty at the stadium.
I can't name a second.
I was there with my daughter, Sanderson. Hey, dude, what's going on?
It was empty last night?
Yeah. Imagine sitting around worrying what the definition of a quality start is. The dude has life figured out.
That's a shot at Jack.
I turned on the game just to see if Waino would implode in the first inning. Laugh out loud. However, the base-running antics of Tyler Lou Ferrigno was mind-boggling. Does he not know? Hold on.
That's not it.
Hold on. Let me read it.
It's a design play.
Yeah. Hold on, because I asked Jimmy about this. Does he not know how to slide? Is he that tight from weightlifting? Seems like he likes to run the bases with his chest out. Somebody find him a yoga instructor, please. Joseph from Springfield, Illinois.
That's a ridiculous text.
As Tony La Russa would say, you got to watch the games. How many times have we seen that very play used against the Cardinals? 2 or 3, if I remember correctly. That's a play where you run through it while you try to distract while the runner scores. The tag is made after the run scores, the run counts. That's what that play was about. But the guy who's on third, I think it was Goldie, I didn't see it, has got to bust it home to ensure that they crossed home plate before that tag was made. Vote Jim Hayes.
Can I just say that Matty is the Brendan Donovan of the show, list reading and all. He provides great insights and is so damn hilarious. The bastard James Hahn.
If I get a dog, I'm going to name him like Kevin.
Kevin.
Thank you.